Thanks very much, Ollie. Thanks for the opportunity for RIU and the rest of the team for giving us the opportunity to present Mamba. And fortunately, first opportunity to actually present in person rather than virtually, which is a very nice change, I must admit, after quite some time stuck over in Perth. Excuse me. Bit of a forward-looking statement that we all have to put up there. This is on the website, so you can read that at your leisure at some stage tonight if you want to fall asleep. So who is Mamba, and where have we come from, and why have we chosen the areas we're exploring? First of all, we're a small company. We listed in February of last year, raised $7 million, around 6.5 after costs, and three of us put the company together. 60 million shares on issue, only 42 of those are tradable, the rest are still held in escrow for 2 years as a result of the vendors and the board putting the company together. A couple of interesting parts here. We've got $3.7 million in the bank, so we're not needing to raise funds anytime soon, with a market capitalisation as of today around $7.9 million, giving an enterprise value of around 4.2 million. So really quite cheap relative to where I believe we should be. A very tight capital structure with the vast majority of the shares held by board, management and the vendors. So where are our projects and why do we select these project areas? Here's a map of Western Australia. All of our projects are 100% owned and in Western Australia. So our projects we selected deliberately because they're on the edge of the Yilgarn or outside the Yilgarn area. Now, a lot of people would say that's a strange thing to highlight, that where we are not in the Yilgarn. We've also, so you can see our locations, the project locations there. So you can see they're really grouped in two areas. Area to the south and an area up into the north. And the reason for that is the Kimberley and Ashburton regions is very hard to work in the summer months, and similarly the Great Southern projects are hard to work in the winter months. So it gives us year-round news flow by having a geographically diverse project locations. The other reason we've chosen these locations and why we've selected our projects as carefully as we did is a lot of the vast majority of the major gold discoveries in the last 20 years have not been in the Yilgarn. They've been on the margin or outside the Yilgarn. And they include Tropicana, Gruyere, Karlawinda, Haveleron and Hemi. So all of those are outside the Yilgarn, which to quite a few people who are exploring in Western Australia get quite surprised by that. In addition to that, a lot of the base metal projects, the large base metal projects in the last 20 years have also been outside the Yilgarn, being Julimar most recently, Nova Bollinger, Savannah North up in the Kimberley, and Winu. So all of those projects are outside what is traditionally the traditional area for exploration. And that's why we've selected those areas, really because we want to find the next big project and the next big discovery. So our projects, as I mentioned, are really split into two main areas. The southern area, which is the summer projects, which we can work during the cricket season, so to speak, and gives us an opportunity to continue year-round exploration. So in the Great Southern, we've got the Calyerup Creek Gold Project, historical gold workings in the area, recent soil samples up to 2.8 grams per tonne, not ppb, but grams per tonne in soils, which confirms the historical sampling and has upgraded those targets for now in excess of 4 kilometres of strike length. Recent RC drilling in the area, very shallow, has intersected up to 15 metres at 2.2 grams and extended that now for over 500 metres of strike length so far. In addition to this, in addition to Calyerup Creek, we have the Darling Range Gold Project, gold, nickel and PG project, just outside of Perth around the Julimar discovery. We're around 30 kilometres away, and we've got a number of exciting targets in that area, which I'll go through all this in more detail shortly. Moving to the northern areas, really are our winter projects. And these include the East Kimberley project, where we're exploring for nickel, copper and silver, and identified some very high-grade silver and copper mineralisation at the Copper Flats project, including samples of up to 30% copper, and 230 grams of silver. Recently doubled the size of that project as well. And the fourth project is the Ashburton Gold Project to the northeast of Carnarvon, where we've got some historical workings in the area and some high-grade historical RC drilling that we'll be following up again this year. So going through the projects in a little bit more detail, the Calyerup Creek Gold Project in the Great Southern of Western Australia, halfway between Albany and Ravensthorpe. We've got two tenements here. I've only shown one on the map here, but you can see three main work areas and historical workings. Northern working, some central workings, and all of these were only in around the 40s and 50s and had not been adequately drill tested subsequently. And in the Southern Prospect. The Southern Prospect has been our focus, and we've really spent most of our time really exploring that Southern project so far. So having a look at that in the geochemical sampling we've undertaken and confirmed, we've identified a 4 kilometre long soil anomaly. Samples up to 2.8 grams per tonne, but 1.9, 1.7 and 1.3 in a number of other recent samples. And initial drilling in the southern area through here, from shallow drilling has intersected, as I mentioned earlier, 500 metres of strike length of a mineralised structure, which has only been drill tested to around 30 metres vertically, 35 metres vertically. Of the 32 holes drilled in the areas to date, 27 have come up with significant intersections to date. So an excellent start for that project area. The intersections include 15 metres at 2.2 and importantly from 1 metre down hole. 15 at just under 2.1, 9 at 2.5, and you can read the rest of them. Very significant intersections, and we'll be following those up. The important part of that system is, for us, we've been deliberately extending this strike length, because the key for this system is to grow the strike length. After we've grown the strike length, then we'll start chasing this at depth. The deepest hole we've drilled here is only about 35 metres vertically, so about 45 metres on the angle, and mineralisation remains open along strike and at depth. Preparations are underway for the next summer's drill programs in the area, where we'll have already got a POW approved for 150 more holes. Dieback and environmental surveys have already been completed, heritage survey this month, all leading towards drilling in Q4 of this year. Moving to the Darling Range project, as I mentioned, just outside of Perth. And you can see where the Julimar project is, just in through here, just outside of Perth, around 70 kilometres from Perth. Julimar on the right-hand side here on the magnetics, and you can see a trend running through here, and that's the area that's been drilled in the Julimar discovery to date. Our project is around 30 kilometres to the northeast, up at Black Hills, and we've identified a 6 kilometre long ultramafic trend in that area, and undertaken a fair bit of work so far and will continue to do so. So the work we've undertaken to date includes identifying a 6 kilometre long 2 PGE auger and soil anomaly, and that identifies two main target areas to the north and to the south of the project area. On top of that, we've undertaken mapping and detailed magnetic reinterpretation and processing of the area, and identified and flown VTEM, and again confirmed that northern target and the southern target. Late last year we drilled the northern target with 2 holes and have drill tested that one, tried to drill test that one plate there that you can see in plan view sits here in the detailed magnetics. We've intersected disseminated sulfides of the right types of sulfides in the area, have not explained the VTEM anomaly to date, but importantly we have not hit any stratigraphic black shales or anything that would explain the VTEM anomaly to date. We'll be going in there this month with ground-based geophysics to better define those targets further. Moving to our winter project, so the Kimberley area, this is where we'll be active between now and Q3, Q4, end of Q3, early Q4. And really the main focus for us has been in the East Kimberley, has been the Copper Flats area here. Very, very large tenement package, To give it a sense of scale, 190 kilometres from there, all the way through to the end of the Ruby Plains project. So a very, very large tenement package, and it runs all the way from Halls Creek all the way to the Northern Territory border. What we've identified from historical work and our original tenements that we applied for, the original tenements are in black here, and that's the edge of the sedimentary basin. And I could go through, if you come to the booth after the presentation, more details of the exploration model we're working to. But we commenced exploration with these tenements in black here, and identified and confirmed historical work with up to 34% copper in surface samples, and most importantly, up to 230 grams per tonne of silver. Now, the copper, take it with a pinch of salt when you see copper grades of up to 30 or 40%. Clearly, there's been supergene enrichment of that copper, and so you need to temper enthusiasm of those types of copper grades. However, the important part is the very high silver grades in this system as well. Because the silver is far less mobile and will not be enriched in the supergene area, that provides a very good vector into the copper mineralisation in the overall system. The areas through to the area 5, up to, as I mentioned, up to 34% copper, but very high silver, up to 50 grams silver, and up to 230 grams silver in some historical working areas through here. When we went up there, we identified not only those areas, but an area further into the basin, in the blue tenements, and we've recently then pegged more than double the size of the tenement package to the north, further into the basin. And the reason for that is that sedimentary basin in the north is far shallower than originally interpreted, and on that basis really is within depth range for us to be exploring for. Geochemical and geophysical programs will be undertaken there in the next 2 quarters. So just looking at the doubling of the size of the Copper Flats project itself, we undertook a detailed review of all the data in this area and identified a number of targets, but historical soil sampling in the Ord Hill prospect identified up to 2 kilometre long, 500 metre wide soil anomaly, up to 5% copper and over 5 grams silver. In addition to that, surface sampling further to the south, which has never been followed up, to 40% copper and 160 grams silver. So a very, very significant system. We'll be going in there with detailed geophysics this field season and expanding the geochemical system and project in that area this year as well. Very briefly, moving on to the Ashburton Gold Project to the northeast of Carnarvon. We've got 2 main areas of focus. The northern area is the key at this stage. There's been historical workings in the area and very limited RC drilling of those targets. The RC drilling that has been undertaken included up to 4 metres at 20 grams and trench and geochem sampling of the old workings identified stacked loads of gold mineralisation up to 40 grams, 46 grams in those stacked loads. So there are a number of large regional structures that you can see running through that target area, and none of those have been appropriately tested either with surface geochem sampling or with any drilling. So that will be a focus again for this year. So in summary, we've got 4 100% owned gold, copper and nickel projects in Western Australia. The Calyerup Creek Gold Project, we've already identified a 500 metre long trend of mineralisation up to 2.5 grams per tonne from that drilling, and a 4 kilometre long soil anomaly. 27 of the 32 holes have hit significant mineralisation, which is an excellent strike rate, and we'll continue that drilling along strike and at depth later this year. At Darling Range, we've done initial drilling of one of the VTEM conductors. We've got another 6 that we'd like to test in the area. We've not explained the VTEM conductors to date, and we have identified off-hole conductors from the downhole EM that was being completed. Ground EM will be undertaken there this quarter and drilling later in the year. In the Kimberley project, reprocessing of the geochemistry and geophysics, and then geochem and geophysical new surveys of that project area this year as well, and in the Ashburton, ongoing soil and RC drilling this year. So that's a summary of Mamba. So thanks very much for the opportunity to present. If anyone wants more information, feel free to come along to our booth 57, for the rest of the project, the rest of the conference. Thanks very much.